Why is Maldraxxus spying on the demons? Yeah. The lore of Maldraxxus is that it was on the back of a giant creature. This opens a hell of a lot more story, but sadly, those stories were never really dived into. So we didn't really get much more from those storylines, but it is interesting. Keep an eye on them. Why? Why would they keep an eye on them? What would be the purpose or the point of keeping an eye on them? Hope Shadowlands are just the order vision of real of death and not the real death. I don't think it is real death. Just like the snake and Gundrak. I also wonder about the demon stuff. Oh, Akko just played Reforged, and I don't think I don't get one thing. It's like the Lich King and the Legion is the same, but they're constantly fighting. Romak, yeah, but the Lich King and the Legion isn't the same. There's an assumed connection between the Primus and the Legion. Do we? Is that your answer, Kiki? You think the Primus and the Legion is connected? What do you see when you look at Cyanathrius? Beside a Giga Chad, because yes, he does look like a Giga Chad. He looks like a demon, right? He looks like a demon. I don't think that the Primus and the Necrolords were spying on the Burning Crusade or the Burning Legion because of the Primus's connections to the Legion. I believe they were spying on the Legion because the Primus knew what Denathrius's original, where he originally comes from. Now, you all know my theory about how the coalitions were built. I believe that the way the current cosmological world is set up, so the way that you have the Order Pantheon and also the Death Pantheon, I believe that is very specifically designed as such. I believe Amanthul is the only original Titan creature. I don't think he's a Titan, but let's call him a Titan. But I believe he's the only original denizen of order. And I believe because he's the only original denizen of order, he was able to act far quicker. So all of the other cosmological forces would have had significant problems organizing forces, because life is very chaotic in its nature. So life would have had a lot of infighting and a lot of sort of trying to figure stuff out. Chaos, which is the demonic realms, they would by definition have a lot of infighting. Death would have been, well, basically obsessed with death, and therefore the realms of life would have little meaning to them. And then Void would be so obsessed with their 1,000 truths that Void would just not act. And so what would end up happening is Amanthul, because he is the first to act, he is able to shut down all of the cosmological forces that he doesn't agree with, that he doesn't want to be represented within the great beyond. And thus, he shuts down the realms of life, most likely shuts down the realms of light, definitely shuts down the realms of disorder, and he shuts down the realms of the void, because these form the greatest threat. So while the light would almost certainly be more well aligned with order and death than with any of the others, the light is a little bit too one-track minded for Amanthul. And also a little bit too, shall we say, fundamentalist for Amanthul. And so he decides to lock them up, keep them out. Zealous is a good word, yes. They're too zealous. So he locks up the light. He allows, however, for the light to send out Naru, so the light can still have a presence within the great beyond, because the light isn't necessarily an enemy, but the light cannot have full access to it. The void he shuts out completely because they just cannot be trusted. He gets into the realms of death. He completely conquers the realms of death. And from the realms of death, he places himself as the ruler of the realms of death. The problem is he needs to do a bunch of other things as well. And so his crusade will eventually pull him away from the realms of death to other areas. But while he's in the realms of death, he and the Primus connects. And him and the Primus come up with a wonderful plan. The Primus being of like mind. So the Primus also very much not, he has no moral qualms with mind control and domination and things like that. The Primus develops domination magic. Using domination magic, they are able to dominate the minds of the other Eternal Ones. Now, the Eternal Ones, I believe, were originally not meant to be the rulers of the Shadowlands, the lands of death. I believe that they were meant to be servants of the realms of death. Their job, their only real job, would have been to play janitor, make sure that everything keeps functioning. They have better plans here, and so they end up choosing their Eternal Ones that they like, placing them under domination magic, giving them each a realm, and this allows for Amanthul and the other Titans to funnel this strange magic that is soul magic, anima, out of the world from the living. But we're obviously not focused on the realms of death today. We're focused on the realms of disorder. You see, Amanthul, being of order, does understand the necessity for elements of chaos. Not full chaos, but elements of chaos is understandable. And so what Amanthul does is Amanthul allows for two beings from chaos to escape the realms of chaos and join the new world order. Let's just put it that way. One is Denathrius, the other is Sargeras. Both Denathrius and Sargeras, placed under domination magic, now serves in the armies of Amanthul. This is why Amanthul sends Sargeras to fight the demons. Because who better to fight the demons than a demon lord himself? And since he is being dominated, there's no way that, he can ever not do that. This is literally all he does. But I think as Sargeras moves throughout the realms of disorder, he starts to question. Because the domination magic is failing. It's sort of, and we have precedent for this in the game. If you go and look at the Lich King, at some point the Lich King forces Arthas to go back to Northrend. And the reason Arthas has to go back to Northrend is as the Lich King spreads his influence further and further out, the influence becomes weaker. This is one of the reasons why the Forsaken is able to escape the service of the Lich King, because the Lich King is so much further away from them. It makes it weak enough that they can actually escape through the sheer of their own will. And then, of course, also the fact that the Lich King kind of ruined himself by sending out Frostmourne, so he was already seeping power. But this is sort of the same effect. As Sargeras moved further and further out, that domination magic started to sort of crumble around him and started to remove from him, and he was able to rebel. Denathrius, most likely the same. I think where things went wrong for Denathrius was the second that Zuval realized what the Primus and Amanthul had done. When Zuval realized... Now, how Zuval realized this is anyone's guess. My best guess would be through witnessing the lives of all of these souls coming into the Shadowlands. At some point, Zuval saw a life of a mortal that may have figured this out. At some point, he saw a mortal life, and this mortal life had uncovered the truth. I would not be surprised if that mortal life is Medivh. Just gonna say it. It could be Medivh. And it could be that after Zuval saw that from Medivh, he allowed Medivh to go back and instead tie himself to the to Karazhan. Because we know that the Karazhan has incredible information inside of it. Most of it will never even be able to know. So it is possible that Medivh, because remember, so there's so much information here. So Karazhan, as it is built, is a bridge between reality and the Twisting Nether. So when you are in Karazhan, you are effectively standing between two worlds. This is why when you do Karazhan the raid, there are so many weird things that happen in the raid. Because Karazhan is between these two worlds, the rules work very, very differently there. This is how the Watcher, Medivh, was able to accrue so much information. By using the Twisting Nether, he could travel the Twisting Nether and find incredible knowledge. And I think he stumbled upon this truth. So when Medivh was finally killed, and Medivh, Zuval saw Medivh's life flash in front of him, Zuval realized, shit, what's been happening to us? And then, once the Primus was locked up as the Rune Carver, this is when Denathrius was finally able to break free. Because now the domination magic was waning, and Denathrius was able to break free from this stupor that he was in. I believe the whole constantly spying on the Burning Legion was the Primus trying to make sure that Denathrius is still under control. Just every once in a while, go check out what the Burning Legion is doing. If it starts to look like the Burning Legion has way too much focus and order, we know that they're being led again. So we know that their leaders are back. As long as we know that they're just sort of attacking worlds and doing, demon things, that's fine. That's what they do because they don't have a leader to direct them. But the second we start seeing high-level, sort of big brain thinking, we know that one of their leaders had returned. And we obviously know that Sargeras is that leader. Sargeras went back. Now, the question, of course, in that would be, how does this all play itself out? How does all of this end? I think, and to answer the question that was asked to me, I think the demons are currently under control of Denathrius over here. I think the next time we see Denathrius is with a demon invasion of some kind. The Burning Legion will be back, maybe this time bigger than ever before. Because unlike Sargeras, who was quite obsessed with Azeroth, I don't think Denathrius shares that obsession. So the Burning Legion may actually now arrive in full force, not to conquer Azeroth, but to destroy her. I would not be surprised. So yeah, I think Denathrius is the one that's in charge of the demons right now. And that's also why we see so little of the demons. At least that's my thoughts.